Alright guys, time for a over the board review. Now I've had a couple of brews and it's just coming up to 11 PM here, but thought you guys might want to see this one. So we're facing Nomads C. This is Sheffield Nomads and they are quite strong. So I'm playing for Chesterfield C team. We've got 6 boards. I'm on board 4 out of 6. My opponent is Les Day, and coming into this I was thinking, if I have the white pieces, am I going to play a Vienna, or maybe might I play a Danish? I don't know, but in the end that comes to nothing. And you know, my big worry is, what am I going to play against d4? Because I mean, normally in a 5-minute blitz, in a 10-minute rapid, I've been playing the England Gambit, Charlotte Gambit, but that hasn't worked out all that well for me. I think I've got 1 win in the Charlotte over the board, because these are like 75-minute games. Anyway, all of that comes to nothing, because Les is 20 points higher rated than me ECF wise. All right, now, so I haven't got the eval going on. Les plays e4. Okay, great. So I play e5, and guess what he does? d4. So this is the center game, and if I accept, then you can have queen takes. That is quite common. I do accept. Obviously, you kind of have to take the pawn. And from here, I'm just having a sneak peek at the book. The book is set to 1600, 1800, 2000. Let's switch it to 1800 and 2000 because that's kind of my level. After c3, white wins 55% from here. After queen takes d4, this is like the center game accepted main line. It's more even, 48, 47. And then you've got knight f3, which is also good for white. You've got bishop c4, which is also good for white. And you've got f4, which I've never known. And e5? What coming in next? e5? e5's not good. Anyway, so my opponent plays the top move, c3, which has a 55% win rate for white at this level. Now, obviously I've played a bunch of Danish in the past. I do respect it a lot, and I'm damned if I'm going to go down the accepted route, right? The general rule, accept the first pawn, say hell no to the second pawn. So what I've been playing recently, and this is based on the real world results, right? D takes c3, 56% in white's favour. Like, no. d5 is the kind of engine response to the center game accepted, or Danish Gambit proposed, right? d5 works out pretty well. That's 43, 51 in black's favour. You've got knight c6, doesn't do well. You've got d6, doesn't do well, still better for white. But then down in position 8, you've got the move that I play, which is 40% for white, 56% for black, and it's queen to e7. Now, my opponent already, being a Danish player, and like, I get mixed feelings, you know, if somebody plays the Danish against me, like if they play the King's Gambit against me. I know that on one hand, I'm facing somebody aggressive and tactical, but on the other hand, we should be in for a good fight. So anyway, with queen e7's a really tricky one, because you've pinned this pawn already against the king, yeah? And by the way, this is in my public over-the-board reviews. You can go and check it, you can analyse it if you want. But black wins 56 to 40 from here. So we've pinned this pawn, this is the point. And more or less whatever white does, the idea is to play d5 and attack the pinned pawn. You can play knight f6, and they can't really come forward because you can just capture, and whatever. So Les captures with the queen, and this prevents pawn to d5 because he can just take it. So, from here, black wins 61%. And guys, if you are looking for a response to the Danish, yeah, this is a very good one. And queen takes d4 is clearly not ideal, and black, I think, is better on the eval at this point. So, most common moves, knight c6 is pretty obvious. It's like, in the Scandi, when the queen recaptures, you develop with tempo and hit the queen. Queen often goes back in the Scandinavian. Knight f6 actually works even better for black with a 75%, but most people play knight c6. This is what I play. Okay, he now goes to e3. This is the most common move, right? Kind of breaking the pin on the pawn. That makes sense, okay? But now knight f6 is the number one move. 56. And I'm not going to keep banging on about percentages, but Anyway, so top move is bishop d3 here, and that is what is played. So I've got 1, 2, 3 pieces out on the board. Opponent's got 2 pieces out on the board, and material is equal. We've lost 1 central pawn each, and we're okay. Okay. So here the most common move from black is d5 with a 60% win rate. And that is exactly what I play in the game. He takes the pawn. So we are in serious peril here. It's like, two samurais looking at each other. Neither queen can legally move unless it's going to capture the other queen or move up the file, right? Because they are both pinned. Both queens are pinned against their respective kings. So I recapture with the knight. I'm now hitting the queen twice, and we trade off. We've gone into an early ending on move 8. Okay, so how am I going to recapture? I've got 4 ways to recapture. King, bishop, and either knight can recapture. Clearly, in terms of principles, there's one best way to go about it, which is that you want to develop. So I recapture with the bishop, obvs. Les develops a knight. He's getting ready to castle. So I go and attack the knight. And what this means is he can't immediately castle, because if he castles, I take out the knight, and there goes his g-pawn. And hello, king, So he now plays bishop e4. I think this is a good move. He's hitting my undefended knight. He's also hitting the knight behind it, which if he captures, I'm going to have to retake with b. I don't really want that to happen. But he's also defending this knight as well. So that's a jolly good move. I now decide to long castle, right? Why? Well, I'm developing, right? I'm defending the attacked knight. I'm centralizing a rook. Notice there are no pawns on the d file or the e file. Both of us have 6 pawns. Yeah, material is equal. Both of us have got 6 pawns. We've got completely open d file, completely open e file. You want your rooks on those files. Okay. And also notice that there's no kind of pawn blockages. No blockages right now, and there's very unlikely to be in the game. And that favours bishops. Therefore, I know Les is not going to trade his really good bishop that is already developed for my horse. Ain't going to happen. So, he gives me a kick. This position has been reached twice at this point at my level on Lichess. Okay, so h3. So it gives me a kick. And I have a think at this point. And by the way, I set myself a little bit of a challenge in going into this match, because I've been playing like a twat recently. I've been playing pretty badly. I'm up to nearly 1500 blitz, but I'm only just over 1400 rapid, and I've been like just blundering stupid things recently. So I said, I had a chat to myself in the car on the way there. Like, come on, Hunty, right? Okay, what we're going to do is, I don't care if I lose on time. What I'm going to do in this game is I'm going to try and take excuse me, more time than my opponent takes. Right, if he's on, so we both start on an hour 15. We've both got 75 minutes on the clock, no increment. I want to have used more time than my opponent. I want to spend more time thinking. When I think I've got a good move, I want to double check it. When I think I've got a good move, I want to see if I can find a better move. Right, that is the challenge I set myself, because I've been trying to use the clock as a weapon in a 75 bloody minute game, and it doesn't work because there's too much time on the clock. Right, the number of times that I've been playing a game and my opponent's got 2 minutes left, but a better position, and they convert. Right? So, I'm quite happy to see h3. And the reason is that it's slightly weakening. Okay? And he's probably still going to want to castle short, so I need to retreat the bishop. Now, I've got a few options. I can come back here to e6. I'm thinking he's going to castle short, which means I probably want my bishops kind of around here, shooting down that way, in Danish style. Okay, but I figure that I want to keep the pressure on this knight. He moved his bishop there because he's worried about that. And again, if he castles, and I can get this bishop off there, notice the bishop's got nowhere to go sideways. Right? He's only got this diagonal, that bishop. So if I can nudge the bishop off of there, the risk is I can take the knight and disturb the g-pawn. So I decide to come back. I'm kind of daring him to double kick. If he double kicks, that's really weakening the king side. Where's he going to get the king safe? He's probably going to have to go long. If he goes long, he's already moved the c-pawn as well, from the Danish. So at this point, he castles short. And now I've got an issue. And this is an issue that I get in the Charlik and lots of other openings. I can't really move this knight because I don't want him to take this knight and force me to recapture with the b-pawn. It's exactly the same problem that he's got over his king side on the other side of the board. But right now I'm happy because the bishop can't take because rook takes bishop, and I'm dominating the d-file and whatever. So I drop my bishop back down to g6. And now notice his bishop can't really go laterally. Right? He's either going to have to retreat or trade off, or he's going to have to find a way to defend the bishop. So knight out, knight b, d2 might make sense, but he finds another way to defend. He plays rook e1, and now I move my bishop out of the way. Problem is here, I'm worried about, he takes my bishop, I recapture, no, he can't take there right now. Okay, he can't take there right now, but because my bishop is currently defended by both knights, but so, yeah, I move my bishop to c5. Now he pushes b4. Okay, so, look, he's a Danish player. And both of us, so up to this point, we're taking about a minute a move. So we're both getting around the 60-minute mark. 60 minutes left. We've used about 15. I know he's aggressive, and I was a bit upset at this move because I'm thinking, oh shit, he's going to come up with maybe the pawn storm down the queen side. That's where my king is castled. And I know he's going to be an attacking player because he's a Danish player. So back comes the bishop to e7. And again, I've got this problem. The bishop is, it's not undefended right now, but look at these knights and look at these two pawns. So what I'm calculating at this point is he can kick one knight and then kick the other, and then my bishop is out of luck. So he could play like bishop takes b7 check, king takes, I lose the bishop. Okay, so this is my worry, and I'm trying to calculate what have I got, other than like moving my knight away to attack the bishop, but then bishop takes knight, b takes, My king is peeled open, and I really also don't really want to lose the bishop pair. But he doesn't do this. I mean, my worry is he was going to push a pawn, force this knight away to here, and then bishop takes. Or this one. And where does this knight go? I can't go there because it hangs. Am I going to go? Have to go back to b8? But he doesn't do any of that. He develops his bishop, making life a bit harder for this knight, by the way. You know. So you really have to kind of turn the tables. This guy wanted to play a gambit, so he wanted to give up a pawn or two in return for rapid development and a big attacking chance, and it's kind of backfired on him because he's the one that's actually now struggling to develop. So this knight here is defended by the rook. It can stay there for now. So I decide to play my bishop now to f6, which has the advantage of eyeing up this diagonal. Okay. Now, I don't think he should have taken here. He could have pushed pawns. Oops. Ignore that. Cut that bit out. All right. He could push pawns. But he decides to push the A pawn. Now, tactic time. What would you play here as black? So, you know, it's a pause if you need to kind of thing. Clearly, he's got this kind of backwards pawn here on c3. The pawn is also pinned because of the bishop's threat against the rook in the corner. The pawn is the only defender of b4, right? Add all those things up and you have the option to take this pawn. We've got two knights that could take. I didn't want to take with the d5 knight because of this issue. Again, I'm peeling the king over. So I see it. I take with the c6 knight. Pawn can't take, because it opens up the rook, okay? So, up comes the rook. He wants to get out of the pin. And now I'm kind of... Yeah, I don't have that because of the bishop. So I'm thinking, but if I take the bishop, this rook recaptures and he's out with the fork, right? The fork don't work. So I decided to grab this bishop off anyway, thinking that he'll probably recapture with a rook, but he doesn't. He takes the knight on b4. So at this point, I'm up a pawn. My king is castled. I've got one good active rook. I've got two active bishops, and I've got the bishop pair. All right. And at this point, so I'm trying really hard. So you crack a beer. Big Hug Brewing Awakening Black IPA 4.7. 4.7 is not really IPA territory, but we shall see. I have had this before. Okay, so I have a really jolly good think here because I'm deciding to use my time well. And here's my dilemma. Okay, one option is I can take out this knight that's undeveloped, right? But it's a really good bishop. So if I take the knight, he comes here, he comes to the rook. Hey. So I know I'm a pawn up, right? The point is at this point, the queens are off the board. We're technically in an ending. So my job is to try and secure a hands down winning position if I can. But I don't like this. I really don't want to give up the bishop pair for that horse. But I also have the opportunity to capture this horse on f3 and force g takes, yeah, which gives him a pawn disadvantage on the queen side, 3 on 2, And he's got a 3-on-3 on the king side, but separated. 2 pawn islands and doubled on f. The alternative is I drop my bishop back, I keep the bishop pair, thinking that the bishop pair is going to be a powerful combo in the ending. So I probably thought about this for 3 or 4 minutes, and I decided to take the knight. Now, time will tell if that was a good decision. Obviously, g takes. Well, you say obviously, because both of us missed a better move for white. I mean, you can see it, but I tell you, over the board is twice as hard as playing in 2D, right? He had rook takes, and he missed it, and I missed it, and I was staring at this bugger for 4 minutes, right? Thinking, if I do that, I'll mess up his pawns. He's thinking, if he takes my knight, he'll mess up my pawns. He had rook takes. He doesn't do it. He takes with g. And now I'm feeling that this game is mine to win or lose, really. So, what would you play here? Okay, I've got 1 bishop left. He's got 1 bishop left. Same colour. Knight is safe, right? His rook controls the e-file. Rook he8. Right? I'm saying to him, I'm up a pawn. You've got doubled and separated pawns on the king side. I am now placing a bet. It's like poker. I'm gonna bet on on this hand, right? I'm gonna say, let's trade rooks. Let's trade down. He says no, thank you. Rook d1. So now, at this point, I missed I don't know if this, you call it a mistake or an inaccuracy. There's a tactic. Okay, what's the best move for black here? Because I didn't find it. I was thinking, I can see the arrangement of these, right? That's a long L, yeah? You know the long L? It's forkable. So I'm thinking, knight b6, knight c5. He'll probably move the rook, but I can get off the bishop. And getting the bishops off the board when the board is wide open, there's nothing in the middle of the board, there's no pawns, right? Happy hunting ground. You want a bishop. If you're the only player with a bishop, happy days, you're in. So that's what I saw. But the tactic I missed, obviously, is that if I'd taken this pawn on b4, I actually see this on the next move. If I'd taken the pawn on b4, bishop can't take. Why? Because the rook hangs. It's undefended. The rooks are separated, right? That's what I should have done. I didn't do it. I play knight b6, eyeing up the fork. I thought he'd move the rook. He doesn't. He pushes with the pawn, and I play this move very quickly, and I really want that bishop. So he drops the rook back. I take the bish. Rook takes. Okay. Now, look at this. Look at Hunty here. 6 pawns still in the blocks. Yeah? Opponent's pawns are a bugger's muddle. Knight is still in the box. So, what do? We trade off. We simplify, right? I've got the... If we can get the rooks off the board, right? I've got the only long-range high-speed piece on the board. I should be able, with a combination of my pawn advantage on the queen side and my better arrangement, although still all at home, on the king side, and a long-range piece who can zip around the board, that should be winning. So, we trade. Now, he cannot take with the rook. Right? Why can't he take with the rook? Because of rook e1, check, forking king and knight, he loses his knight. So he has to take with the knight. I knew this. And now, rook d8. So what am I doing? I'm pinning the knight. The knight can't move. Right? So I've got him in a lock here. And I'm also thinking maybe bishop here. Right? Attack the knight, but more importantly, attack these 2 pawns on the dark squares. King moves across, Easy. Bishop c3. King comes in. I have a pawn. This is fine. I've now got 3-on-1 on this side of the board. Happy days. Knight comes out. Question time. Okay. Knight's defending this pawn, by the way. So, do we trade off? Well, yes, we do. And one reason is I want the king as far away from the center as possible. Okay? Because I want to centralize my king first. I don't do this, actually, I push a6. Because I want to keep this pawn on a dark square. And that's the point of a6. I want to keep it here. That keeps the knight defending it. As long as this bishop is on this diag, yeah, it's attacking this pawn, that freezes the knight. In comes kingy. I play king d7. King starts to move across. I come up. He pushes f4. I decide to push this, and the reason is because I don't want his knight coming in here, right? I want to slow things down. If he comes in here with check, I come here towards the pawn. So this is kind of a general plan. This is one idea now, right? King to b5, take out the pawn. If knight takes, I recapture with the king, and I've got 3-on-0 on the queen side, and that should be enough. So he moves his king over. I move my king over because I figure his plan is to come here and eliminate this. Now, with my king on here, I'm covering all these squares, right? Your king always has a force field around him. He can't come here because of the pawn. So king there stops this king in his tracks. I'm still threatening this pawn. The knight is still stuck. King retreats. And now f5. Maybe not the best move. But I'm thinking these two double isolated pawns, they're just stopped now. So I tell you, one of them at least has got to be on a dark square. And that's good for yours truly because I've got a dark squared bishop. Right? This knight can in theory visit every single square on the chessboard. Right? Every single square. Because knights change colour every time they jump. This bishop has a choice of 32 squares. I'm not going to colour them all in, but you know what I mean. So this, I know that if that pawn advances or whatever, this pawn can't get onto a light square. King comes in, attacking my bishop. Now this would be a blunder, because knight takes, it's supported by the king, I can't recapture. So, out comes the bishop hitting this pawn moves forward. Now at this point, by the way, my opponent for a few moves has already been starting to move quickly. Now bang, bang, right? He's trying to tempt me into moving quickly. But I'm very mature, okay, and like grown up and stuff. So I'm saying, nah, mate, nah. I'm gonna have a think about it. I've got 45 minutes on my clock. I'm gonna have a jolly good think. I'm gonna use my time. I want to make sure of this. So bishop g3 now hits this pawn. He can't defend it, or can he? Knight c5 threatens to take out this pawn. And I decide to defend. If I pushed b6, he takes this one. We do not want this. I do not want to allow Andy any breathing room. So king c6 now just defends this pawn on b7. The knight now comes round. He wants to come here and attack this pawn, right? I'm thinking, oh, whatever. So b6. I think, from memory, the computer said b5. I thought about b5, tempting him to en passant, right? If I play b5 en passant, I take with the c pawn anyway. But I thought I wanted to create the tension. I want to threaten to capture on here and run off with it. So he takes anyway. C takes anyway. He attacks my pawn. Now I can't move this pawn forward because this is actually forking two pawns. So what's the point? So I just take on here with the bishop. He takes that one, and I push forward with check. He's pretty much got to come here, I think. Yeah. So he comes back to b3. I push the other pawn forward. Side by side pawns are very good against kings, because now if this king buggers off, right, somewhere else, right, how is this king going to attack these pawns? Well, let's do it in red. All right. He can't go on any of these squares. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 moves to attack one pawn. Knight comes back round to hit g6. I push it. Knight comes back round to hit the pawn and the bishop. I don't mind. All right. King d5. He takes the bishop. I recapture. And now we have ourselves a situation. He's got a runaway h-pawn. I've got Andy and Barry, the terrible twins, on the queen side. Who wins? He starts to run. My king, I'm inside the square, right? I'm inside this square. Even if I've been here, or any of these, I can still catch the pawn. You have to know this. So what can he do? Well, his king's going to have to come around the side. And now I have to take my socks off and start to count, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I can move, and then he has to take here. That's 4 moves to the king. In that time, I've taken out this pawn. I'm going to take out this pawn. I can shepherd my pawn on f4 through to victory. I slide across, he comes round, I push Andy. This is really crucial, okay? Because what it means is now he can't come up after Barry. Barry is a made man. Barry cannot be touched. If he comes here, now, right, I push. And he is outside of the square. This is the point. And he can never get in. He cannot catch Andy on a3. So he can't do that, okay? So he comes back to c3. I play king g6, and we shake hands. That's it. Right? He knows it's all over. Very, very satisfying game. Particularly seeing as this was a strong team. I was expecting to get my arse handed to me. I faced the bloody Danish, which I don't want to do. And so I've pasted this into the chess.com analysis board. 1750 for my opponent. 2050. This is a 48 move game, guy. 48 moves. 2050. Happy, happy days. 0 blunders, 0 misses, 0 mistakes, 3 inaccuracies. I will take that all day long. I thank you. Right? There's one blunder for my opponent. What was it? This move. Right? Because of the pinned pawn. Right? He didn't notice. Let's do that in blue. Right? He didn't notice. He gives up a pawn. Now this next move, great move actually. Great move. I thought it said that capturing it with the other knight was better. Knight D, yeah. It says knight D is better, but we're talking 0.08 of a pawn. Oh no, we're not. 0.18 of a pawn. So there you go. It all hinges on that, and very pleased. And I'm very pleased with the fact that I took a bit more time. Yeah, it was a sharp game. It was an aggressive game. But also, if you look at the game review, and Lichess corroborates this, after move, at this point, white is slightly better. From this point, white is worse for the entire game. And that you can put in your pipe and smoke. Very, very happy with that indeed. Hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you for watching. See you soon.